Welcome back to another episode of the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could do me a solid favor, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, rating, review, whatever it is. It really helps me out a lot to reach out to more and more people, and I would forever be grateful to you. Today we are going to be talking about how my 4th of July went, so a little recap on that, and then a big lesson that I had learned from cooking this last 4th of July weekend. So for starters, I know I've been doing a couple episodes in a row where I've been recapping my weekends because I usually record these a week in advance. And so when I record it, even though you might listen to it right after the weekend happened, you actually have to wait an extra week in order to hear how the weekend actually happened. And we just had a lot of weekends where stuff has been going on. And so that's why I'm kind of doing a recap this week rather than last week. The 4th of July weekend went great. I had a 4-day weekend and my wife had a 3-day weekend, which actually led me to be able to have an extra day to have a daddy-daughter day, which we went to the outdoor swimming pool here in Dickinson. And it was a lot of fun, and I was actually really excited to see it because even though I used to work at the pool, lifeguarded when I was in college, and then after college, I was actually the supervisor for the pool for about a year, the outdoor pool was still in the planning process, so I actually haven't got to go inside and swim in it yet, even though it's been done for a few years, so it was kind of nice to go see it. My daughter really enjoyed it. She liked all the different pools that they had in there, but she wasn't a big fan of being splashed, which I don't know what her deal with that is because she loves the water, so she ended up clinging to me kind of the whole time, but she loved it. She didn't want to leave the pool. And we finished up by having an ice cream cone, and she was chasing some birds that kind of came into our area during pool break and everything. So it was a lot of fun. After that, went home. She took a nap, and after the nap, my wife came home and we went to her class reunion where they had like a family picnic and everything, and they had a big bouncy castle there. So it was my daughter's first experience with many other kids that's not at daycare and a bouncy castle. So that was a new experience, and she wanted to partake in it, but she's a little bit scared of it because she wasn't exactly sure what to do, and she didn't really know all the other kids. So she was inside on all fours right next to the entrance where we were. So after about an hour, though, she was pretty well warmed up, and she was bouncing around, having a good time. Well, on one side of this bouncy house, they had this, like, you could climb up it, and on the other side was a big, slide that you kind of bounced or slid down. And it was pretty high. It was about 10 to 12 feet, and she wanted to go down it really bad, but she didn't really know how, so we kept saying, watch the other kids, go over there, climb up that. And it was the first time we've ever actually seen her climb, so it was neat to see her that new skill develop and whatnot. But we watched her climb up to the top and everything, and we went around to the other side to watch her exit the bouncy house on this slide, and we're just kind of waiting and everything, and here comes some other kids, and they'd go down, they'd go back through, and they'd come back down again. We're like, what in the heck is taking her so long? She's just taking her time, climbing up there. Pretty soon we saw these blonde curly hairs coming up over the top, followed by these big eyes, and then looking at us, see if we're watching, and then this big smile, and then just giggle as she got her feet ready, and then went right back down it. And then then it was game over. She just absolutely loved it from there. So then she kept doing that process over and over. So that was a lot of fun to be able to watch her have that much fun. And then we went home after that. And the next day was the parade. And this year the parade was massive. Normally the parade, I feel like, only lasts about 30, maybe 45 minutes or so. And this year it lasted up to dang near an hour and a half. So it was a lot bigger. I think I heard that there was over 100 floats. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate or not, but there was a lot of floats, and it was a really good parade. It was toasty hot, though. I bet you it was well over 100 degrees next to the road there and everything. But I do have to say, I have a bone to pick with this younger generation. See, when I was their age, yeah, I went there. I used that term. I guess I'm getting old now. But when I was their age, when it came to a parade and people were throwing out candy, we dang near fought to get every last piece of candy. We didn't care if it was like good and plenty, gross, black jelly beans, or if it was the good stuff, or if it was crushed up stuff, whatever it was. Candy was like wealth, and we just had to get it all back then. So we tried like crazy to get as much as we can to not leave a single piece of candy behind. We had sorted out later. We'd eat everything that we wanted from our bags, and then whatever we didn't want, we'd just kind of, keep shuffling through the bag, and then eventually that bag would sit until next year's parade, which we'd finally empty it out because of all the stale candy, and then replenish our wealth in candy. So that's how we used to do it. Kids today, I'm not going to lie, I was really disappointed. I was looking on how much candy was on the streets. And if you have seen like a football, like the Super Bowl, after the game and everything, how much confetti's on the field, it looked like that, but on the street of candy. And kids, there was tons of kids and all ages. And I just watched them. They'd go out there and they'd just pick what they want and then come back. They wouldn't grab it all. And I was just like, guys, that's a bunch of wasted candy. So PSA, public service announcement, kids, pick up all your candy at the parade and then just sort it out later. And yeah, that's how it's done right there. So end rant. But yeah, like I said, the parade was a blast. My daughter had a great time picking up candy and everything. We got way too much candy. But like I said, we were not going to leave a piece of candy behind, at least in our area. Then later that day, my wife and I got to have a date evening where the grandparents came over and watched our daughter while we went out and had some supper and caught up with some friends. And then we were home before 9. So yeah, that was great. And then we were home before 9, so then the grandparents could go out for their date night and, little party animals and whatnot. But it was great. It was really nice to be able to sit down with my wife, have a meal that we could both eat while it was hot, and we didn't have a little girl that wanted to be on our laps or squirming around and everything. Don't get me wrong, I love my daughter to death and every aspect that comes with her and everything. But every now and then it is kind of nice to have a nice peaceful meal that we can kind of eat at our own pace and everything and have some adults time together. But yeah, the date night was great and everything. And then moving on to Sunday and Monday, we smoked some ribs and a brisket. Now, for those of you that have never smoked a brisket before, it's or have tried and maybe failed, or have tried and had success. Smoking a brisket can be a daunting task. It's quite the process. It requires a lot of patience. You need to have plenty of time to do it, and overall, it's quite the process. So, I've smoked 3 briskets in my life. Okay, so the very first one I ever did, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a plan. I just was going to treat it like I would with ribs, and I was like hour kind of per pound. It was kind of a smaller brisket. I cranked it up to 275, which is a little bit warmer a little bit on the warmer side for smoking meat. So I cranked the heat up, and I smoked it only for about 4 hours or so. Took it right off, cut it up, and it was rather tough. It was tough, and it was not very enjoyable. I was not very proud of it. And I was kind of saddened by it. I was just overall disappointed with my first one. The second one I was like, well, I want it to be a little bit more tender, so I still didn't have a plan other than to just cook it a little bit longer at a little bit lower temperature. So I think I did like 250 or something like that, and I cooked that one for like 12 hours, and the only resting I let it have was like maybe 15 minutes while I was getting everything else ready. But that one turned out a lot more tender. There was a lot more fat on it, but the problem with that one was we didn't cook it long enough because it was a bigger one, and it ended up being very gristly and very greasy. And overall, even though it kind of tasted good, we all kind of got sick a little bit from how much grease we just consumed. So didn't turn out well there. And so this third one, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this right. And with the help of my wife, we found on this Facebook group that we're a part of what everybody else, all these grilling master people and everything, and what they do to make their brisket and everything. And we found a plan that we were going to do to smoke this brisket. So we started off, I got the brisket to just about room temperature. I put my seasoning, my rub on it, and I let that sit for a half hour. While that was sitting, I got my smoker ready. I set it at 225, nice and low. And I put a water pan in there filled with nice Busch Light apple. And then once that was ready, I threw the brisket on the smoker. I put the meat probe in. And every hour I just checked it, sprayed it with a little apple cider vinegar to kind of get the smoke ring and the bark, as they call it, ready and everything. And I did that until, not by hours, but until the internal temperature was 165 degrees. So, and that actually took a lot longer. There was times that I wanted to abandon the plan and turn up the heat on the grill to hopefully get it done faster, because there's like this little plateau moment where it just takes forever to get that last 5 to 10 degrees. But I said, no, I'm sticking to the plan, and we're just going to go through it. I allowed myself 24 hours to get this brisket done. And not that it would take that long, I hoped, but that's what my goal was. And so I let it sit. Once it got to 165 degrees, I took it off. We wrapped it in pink butcher paper and then threw it back on the grill, put the meat probe back in, and then we just basically left it until the internal temperature was 200 degrees. At that point, we took the brisket back off, pulled the meat probe. While it's still wrapped in butcher paper, we wrapped a towel around and then we set it inside an empty cooler. Not a cooled down cooler with ice or anything, just an empty cooler to keep the heat in and everything. And we let it rest. Something I never did before because I didn't have the patience for. I let it rest in this cooler for 2 more hours. And I think that was a big key to it. By the time this whole process was done, it was about 16 hours for this smaller brisket that I had. And it turned out phenomenal. I mean, it was the best brisket I had ever tasted. And I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? There is something to be learned here, okay? A lot of times in life, yes, it's getting deep now. A lot of times in life, I feel like we get impatient. We want something now. Whether it's, we want a new car now, or whether it's we want, to be married now, or we want kids now, we want this now, we want to learn a skill now. We don't have the patience to take the time and plan the steps and everything to achieve that. A lot of times we end up being like my first brisket. We want to do it fast, so we just turn up the heat on ourselves and we plow through it, which ends up being really tough. It might not be as enjoyable, and you run the risk of a lot of times burning out. So then there's another time that you might have a plan, or you might kind of take it a little bit easier, but you still don't really know what you're doing, and you just kind of go through the motions, or you get impatient, so you kind of bail. Maybe you take out a loan or something. Maybe you marry the first girl that agrees to date you after like a week of knowing her. I don't know, whatever it is. Or maybe you decide to put the skill that you've been practicing to the ultimate test before you truly have it mastered. And what happens? You go into debt. Or, maybe the relationship, the person's not who you thought they were. Or maybe you end up hurting yourself because you didn't have the skill fully achieved, or mastered, I should say. And you just become disappointed. It might leave a bad taste in your mouth. You might feel sick to your stomach. Now I'm getting both sides mixed up with the brisket. Either way. Or you could take the third route. You can devise a plan. You can follow it. You can look at it as in a sense that no matter what, pride put aside, I'm going to do this right. I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm going to plow through it. And at the very end, I'm going to have something to be proud of. I'm going to have a skill that I have mastered. I'm going to have the woman of my dreams, or or husband of my dreams, whatever it is. Or I'm going to be able to save up, and I'm going to still be debt free for that thing that I bought. Whatever it is, devise a plan and follow it. And that's your life lesson from a brisket. Remember, patience is a virtue, and that's also one of the fruits of the Spirit. In Galatians 5:22, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gratefulness, gentleness, and self-control. Gentleness, faithfulness. I think I said them all. Anyways, Patience. It's what it's all about. I do have a verse here from Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Now think of that. I can't count how many times I have been impatient and started so many things, but never truly finished anything or truly mastered anything. I'm like the world's okayest at everything because I never really truly took the time to sit there and achieve something the proper way, go through the steps, go through the proper training, whatever it is. There's a lot of things other than obviously being an electrician. And I guess there's a couple other things too that I'd probably am not thinking of right now. But, finishing is better than starting. Is your end product or skill or goal, are you going to be able to accomplish that and look back at it and be darn proud of what you did? That's what the whole point is. And, patience is better than pride. Because when you're patient and you take those steps and you achieve something great, that's going to be more rewarding than trying to look better than where you are currently. Because, like I said, when I was back in high school and everything, I wanted to look richer than I actually was. So every single paycheck went to flashy clothes, name brand clothes and everything. And I really didn't have any money. I think I was trying to fool a lot of people. But, so anyways, that's my episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was kind of quirky to learn a life lesson from smoking a brisket, but that's kind of what I had for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm getting a little warm in my pickup here, so I'm going to tune out here. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad.